Tonight, a humiliating vote of no confidence in Boris Johnson, the First Minister, on the Conservatives' by-election defeats in England. The Prime Minister says it's just mid-term blues.
These by-elections represent a massive, monumental, humiliating vote of no confidence in Boris Johnson.
If governments crumpled because of by-election results in the whole of the post-war period, we wouldn't have had many post-war governments.
Also making the headlines. A sellout crowd to celebrate all things rural as the Royal Highland show returns for its 200th year.
To sport, and golfers playing in the controversial Live Series are banned from next month's Scottish Open.
And unearthing hidden history, the archaeologists searching for a chapter of Scotland's footballing past.
I'm John Mackay in Glasgow.
And I'm Emma Cameron in Edinburgh. This is the STV News at 6.
Good evening. The First Minister is calling it a monumental and humiliating vote of no confidence in Boris Johnson. The Conservatives have suffered a double by-election defeat in England, losing out to Labour in the north and to the Liberal Democrats in the southwest.
This morning, their party chairman quit, and pressure is piling onto the Prime Minister, who says he'll listen but has vowed to carry on. It comes just weeks after 4 out of 6 Scottish Tory MPs called for him to go in a confidence vote. Our Westminster correspondent Catherine Sampson reports.
Richard John Ford is duly elected.
A humiliating defeat for the Conservatives in Devon, the Lib Dems overturning a huge majority.
The people of Tiverton and Honiton have spoken for Britain. It's time for Boris Johnson to go.
A wake-up call in Wakefield too, where Labour claimed victory.
Boris Johnson, your contempt for this country is no longer tolerated.
Then came a dawn resignation from Tory chairman Oliver Dowden, who says it can't now be business as usual. It wasn't for the Prime Minister. He was thousands of miles away in Rwanda, blaming the result on mid-term blues.
If governments crumpled because of by-election results in the whole of the post-war period, we wouldn't have had many post-war governments. And that, I'm afraid, of course, we need to listen to the messages that we're getting. We need to learn. But in the end, we've got to get on and deliver for the British people. And that is what we're doing.
Visiting the Royal Highland show today, the Scottish Conservative leader doubled down on his call for the Prime Minister to move on.
We have to listen to the public, who have been very clear, not just in these 2 by-elections, but what I was saying back in May after the local government elections here in Scotland, across England and in Wales. The public are sending a message and the Prime Minister has to listen to that.
But this Cabinet Minister was staying loyal.
When it comes to the sort of controversies around the so-called Partygate and what happened in Downing Street, the Prime Minister has given an account of that. He's apologised for his role in that. I think for most people there are now other issues that they want us to address.
The First Minister's faced questions this week about her own party. Today she says the Conservatives should oust their leader.
These by-elections represent a massive, monumental, humiliating vote of no confidence in Boris Johnson, but they don't come as any surprise. We've seen these coming miles off because Boris Johnson is utterly discredited. And, the big question for the Conservatives now, are they going to continue to allow him to remain in office?
The Prime Minister won't be returning to Westminster until late next week, leaving colleagues back home with a lot to consider.
So, Catherine, a difficult day for the Prime Minister, but a difficult week for the First Minister because of the fallout from Patrick Grady.
Yes, and of course more fallout after that interview Bernard Ponsonby did with Ian Blackford on our programme last night. Now, you saw we spoke to the First Minister at the Royal Highland show today. She's still standing by Ian Blackford as SNP Westminster leader. We also asked her, though, does she think that Patrick Grady can stand to be an MP at the next election? To that, she simply replied that these are matters for selection committees of the SNP in due course. This is a story that I don't think is going to go away anytime soon.
Catherine, many thanks for that.
The former Transport Minister, Derek Mackay, has broken his silence over the Calmac ferries fiasco in written evidence submitted to a Holyrood committee. Mr Mackay, who resigned in 2020, said there was a high level of confidence in the Ferguson Marine Shipyard in Port Glasgow to build the vessels. The ferries, of course, are millions of pounds over budget and years behind schedule. Our chief reporter Sharon Frew joins us from the newsroom now. And Sharon, what more does this letter tell us?
Well, the Public Audit Committee has received a written response from Mr Mackay after asking him to provide information on the awarding of this contract to Ferguson Marine. An email trail last month showed the then Transport Minister made the final decision in 2015. Now, in response, Mr Mackay said he was content to recommend the award of the contract despite concerns being raised by CMAL, and he said that all relevant officials had been involved in the submission. He stated there was a high level of confidence in the yard, which had successfully completed other vessels for the Calmac fleet. There was also an expectation, he said, that there would be sufficient monitoring and oversight. Mr Mackay went on to say he was first made aware of the problems and delays in December 2016. On the question of nationalising the yard, he said it was believed that this was the best way to deliver the vessels, safeguard jobs and also secure future shipbuilding on the Clyde. He said the option of finding another commercial buyer was also not ruled out, but public ownership was the best and the right thing to do. Now, Derek Mackay says he would be willing to appear before the committee in person to give evidence. MSPs will meet again to discuss this submission on Thursday.
Sharon, thank you for that.
Now, a third day of UK-wide rail strikes will have a significant impact on Scotland tomorrow, with the vast majority of services being cancelled. The dispute is between Network Rail and the RMT union.
Although no industrial action was taking place today, there has been an impact on many routes. Our senior reporter Gordon Cree has been following developments.
John, this is Linlithgow station on the main Edinburgh to Glasgow line. The 1807 to Queen Street has just left, but that's not been the case everywhere. Many areas still had reduced services because of the knock-on effect of the maintenance crews and the signal workers being on strike yesterday and preparing to down tools again tomorrow. There's also been disruption on the East Coast Main Line and on East Lothian local services because of that truck that crashed onto the line at Walleyford near Musselburgh. There was a big recovery operation on that and repairs had to be made to some of the trackside infrastructure, although the line is now reopened. Now, tomorrow there are various big events going on, such as the Pride parades in Glasgow and Edinburgh, music concerts in various places in the evening, so people who want to get the train are being advised to check before they travel. Very limited service in operation, only trains running between Edinburgh and Glasgow and nothing at all after 6:30. John.
Gordon, thank you. The Royal Highland show is in full flow for the first time since before the pandemic. Scotland's biggest celebration of all things rural life attracted a sellout crowd at Ingliston today, with similar numbers expected tomorrow.
Well, it's always a popular summer attraction. This year, the famous agricultural show marks a significant milestone. Its 200th anniversary. Those in the industry say it's an important moment to reflect, but also to look forward and consider the future of farming. Well, Kate Nicholson has been there all day for us. So, Kate, what's the atmosphere like?
Yes, Emma, believe it or not, the Royal Highland Show will attract a similar number of visitors as Glastonbury this weekend. Around 200,000 people through the gates in total over the 4 days. And it does feel, although it's a very different event from a music festival, it does have a festival atmosphere here. It's been great fun all day, lots of people enjoying the weather and the many things on offer. But you can see the appetite is very clear, obviously, after the last few years of not having the show. And today, people also use the chance to see politicians, as you saw in Catherine's piece here today, to have their say on what needs to be done to support the industry at the moment. From sheep to shopping, the Highland Show programme is as packed as ever and everyone is embracing it.
We flew in from Dublin this morning. Yeah.
And what's been your favourite thing about the day then?
Probably seeing the Highland House.
Just all the different shops and getting everyone in about again and seeing all the horses and cattle and things.
That
2-year break.
It brings so many different things to one place that you just don't tend to get anywhere.
This year marks the show's 200th anniversary. Organisers say missing out on the last few years has made the milestone all the more poignant.
We've talked a lot about the fact that from a society point of view and from a show point of view, we must have been relevant and innovative, but we've also got to be in touch with our heritage and our tradition, because that's shaped where we are now. It's just seeing the people reconnecting. You know, that rural Scotland's had a really tough time over the last couple of years. The lack of the local shows has been a bit of a problem as well, so I'm delighted to see them come back. We happen to be the biggest, but they are so important to their own rural communities.
While this is a weekend for celebrations, it's also a chance for farmers to discuss some of the challenges they're facing at the moment, not least the rising cost of things like fuel and fertiliser, which are leading some to even consider scaling back their businesses.
We definitely are concerned that we are seeing production, for example, scaling back in number of beef cows or in horticulture, in other areas like pork and poultry, for example. So we can't produce things at an unprofitable rate. We've got all parts of the supply chain, thousands of food businesses here, thousands of suppliers to agriculture here, and these people all rely on a vibrant Scottish agricultural sector.
And that's where educating the next generation comes in. Budding farmers are getting stuck in at this interactive display.
So for the 4 days of the Highland Show, we are running a various amount of activities, hands-on activities for young people to learn about the red meat industry through our Year of Beef. They're going to be learning about where the milk comes from. We've got our fiberglass Mabel the cow, who's being very heavily milked in the background. It's so important that we educate the next generation about where their food comes from, and they can learn the truth and not listen to the myths about food production in Scotland.
That all feeds into the wider ethos of the show itself, to help Scotland's rural economy thrive. Kay Nicholson, STV News, Ingliston.
Musicians are preparing for a special event in Blantyre this weekend, celebrating the work of the 19th century explorer David Livingstone and those who helped him on his travels.
The Tinga Tinga party will be held in the South Lanarkshire town tomorrow and will also feature art, film and food. The project is the culmination of 6 months of work by researchers who've been finding out more about David Livingstone and some of the objects in the museum's collection. Susan Ripple reports.
Gamali is playing a traditional Ghanaian xylophone. He's travelled around the world with it, and this weekend he's performing at the David Livingstone Birthplace Museum in Blantyre.
What intrigued me, especially when I saw the exhibition, was the xylophones, and the fact that xylophones were brought from Africa many years ago to Scotland, and then I brought xylophones in 2003. So I could see a link there.
It's like a way of us displaying what we can do at a place where it's about, this museum being about David Livingstone, who obviously went to Africa, a place of birth. So having to perform to, his birthplace is kind of a good privilege to have.
The Tinga Tinga party will tell the untold stories of the African crew members who helped him on his travels.
Without whom he would never have been able to get to where he did, and ultimately their stories have been overlooked and their narratives have kind of been forgotten, so these projects will go some way to bringing them back to the forefront.
As part of the project, the researchers have been finding out more about objects from the collection, including this urn.
It was not just an urn. It was so fragile that it could not carry much weight at all.
Mara Menzies has shot this film in Kenya. Here she's sharing more about the history of it.
Tomorrow this scene will also be launched, and it charts the 6 months of work that the exchange researchers have done, and it also includes their personal reflections.
By delving deeper into the collection, the team now understands more about what these objects mean today and how they relate to the history of empire and colonialism. And of course, it's helped them bring them to life. Susan Ripple, STV News, Blantyre.
Other stories across Scotland, and a woman has died in a fire in a block of flats in Ruby Street in the east end of Glasgow early this morning. The 76-year-old who lived in the flat was pronounced dead at the scene.
1 in 20 people in Scotland had COVID last week. The figure was 1 in 30 the week before, with the increase likely to be driven by new variants.
Pride marches in Edinburgh and Glasgow take place tomorrow for the first time since the pandemic. Thousands are expected to take to the streets, and LGBT and queer support groups say they're determined to make their voices heard.
If you look back at the 25 years, it shows how much
things have progressed, education, human rights. So it's awesome that we get to celebrate this year as the 25th anniversary.
I think the town will have thousands of people in it. I think in the bar that I work in, we'll have hundreds of people in it. A lot of drag acts, a lot of singing, people dancing in the street, just people celebrating who they are for Pride Month.
Now, could a 4-day working week be on the cards? Potentially, according to those at Glasgow City Council. They've voted to approve a study looking into the benefits of the practice. For many workers, life after the pandemic has increased their desire for work-life balance, as Vanessa Taff reports.
Molly works at this busy car sales garage 5 days a week. Her employer offers a flexible working model. She's able to request time off for things like socialising, dinner with family and appointments without working the time back.
It's genuinely been great. At first it was quite hard before we had that, and you would find yourself oh, I can't make this or you can't make that, but being able to still make different things with family, nothing's more important than something else.
While a 4-day working week isn't possible for everyone, today's report shows that demand for flexibility for those in frontline jobs is high. 64% of those employees say flexibility is more important to them than the salary on offer. Employers who already offer flexible working say that it's improved mental health and work-life balance. The pandemic forced many into a flexible working model, which is now something employees are actively looking for in a job.
We are hearing every day from employers that are saying they're finding it really hard to recruit people into their business, and that's across lots of different sectors. Meanwhile, we're seeing this demand for flexible working, so employers are having to think a little bit differently, a little bit more creatively about what's going to make them stand out from the crowd.
Now, Glasgow City Council have approved a study looking into whether they can adopt a 4-day working week.
There is going to be things, especially cleansing and particularly with education services, that we will still need to run a 5, 6, 7-day service in some sectors. But it's about how do we do that? Because it's not impossible, it's just what are the levers we need to pull and what kind of things do we need to change. There is a transformation that needs to happen.
This change for the council could be here as soon as December, but for employees like Molly, they're already reaping the rewards of a flexible working pattern. Vanessa Taff, STV News, Glasgow.
Interesting. I'm more a working from home kind of guy myself. When's that starting, John?
Get your fill of the action. STV Sports, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Very soon, I hope. Golfers who have taken part in the controversial Live Series have been banned from playing at next month's Scottish Open and fined £100,000 each. The DP World Tour's decision means the likes of Ian Poulter, Lee Westwood, Sergio Garcia and Martin Keimer will not be at the tournament at the Renaissance Club in North Berwick after being punished for playing in the inaugural Saudi-backed event in Hertfordshire earlier this month.
In speaking to many of our members, they were disheartened, they felt disrespected, disrespect to the tour for the members that did willfully break these rules and regulations that are there to govern our tour, to protect themselves, to protect the sponsors and the stakeholders. And at the end of the day, the action required a consequence, and we think we made a fair and proportionate move.
Football news, and Ricky Lamy says it was a no-brainer to sign a 2-year contract to remain at Motherwell, as he and the club are a good fit. Lamy says he and his teammates are looking forward to the new campaign, which kicks off against European opposition. Back for a new season. The Motherwell players are gearing up for a campaign which will see them play in Europe. They'll face either Ballatown or Sligo Rovers in their Europa Conference League qualifier next month.
You need to go in with confidence. Everybody's in at the same level for a reason. That's why we've qualified, and I think we ended the season on a high, trying to achieve that. So why not go in, with a Springer step and see where it can take us.
By the time Ricky Lamy scored this goal against Hearts to take the Steelmen to Europe, he had already signed a pre-contract agreement to join Dundee. But after the Dark Blues were relegated to the Championship, the 29-year-old activated a clause in the deal to remain at Fir Park.
I feel at home here. I'm only, 15-20 minutes up the motorway I feel as if it's a good group of guys here, and the club's really well run. So it's a good fit, and obviously the European venture was another bonus as well. But I think the way that we ended the season, on a personal note as well, it was a no-brainer.
A new season often means fresh faces. Paul McGinn and Blair Spittle have joined the club, and for some it means fresh footwear.
It's hard to match up running shoes to Claret and Amber, but I've tried my best. I've took a bit of slagging, but I've tried my best. They're comfy at least.
Did you get them yourself, or did you ask for the kitman to find them?
It'll be no surprise to you that these were the ones that were on the sale on the website. So I like myself a bargain.
Don't we all, Ricky? Now, Scotland's women can all but secure their place in the World Cup playoffs tonight if they can beat Ukraine. Pedro Martinez Losa's side are second in the group, 1 point ahead of Hungary, who have still to play runaway leaders Spain. Tonight's opponents have 2 games in hand. Team Scotland's boxers have every right to be confident of winning medals at the Commonwealth Games. That's according to their national coach. The 8 fighters will head to Birmingham next month, looking to continue a tradition that has seen Scots claim podium finishes in every edition of the Games. Here's Jimmy Bothwick.
For most, their first taste of the Team Scotland colours. For others, it will be their last. But after injury robbed him of his chance to go professional after the Gold Coast Games, Sean Lazzarini is now eyeing a golden goodbye to the amateur ranks.
I broke the bones in here and I had to get an operation. That took a long time. I had injuries on my knuckles as well. So it's been a bit of a battle to leave with a gold medal. That's the plan, obviously. It'll be such a nice way to leave the amateur game, leave boxing Scotland, and just it'll be the cherry on top.
And this team is looking to add to a tradition of Scottish boxing success at the Commonwealth Games.
I feel really proud. Obviously, people in the past have gone and done big things at the Commonwealth Games, like Josh Taylor being one. So yeah, I just want to live up to their standards and do well and hopefully medal.
With the Games on Scotland's doorstep, athletes can expect a noisy support from most of their loved ones in Birmingham.
My fiancée is heavily pregnant, so she won't be coming down, just in case. But yeah, a lot of friends and family.
And ex-pros have also joined the camp to lend their experience in the ring.
They've all got their own inspirations about what they want to do in their career, whether it be stay amateur, heading towards the Olympic Games, or turning over professional. Whatever they decide to do, they're all more than capable of doing whatever.
They have every right to be confident, and on and all with the full-time programme and the training camps, the volume the last 2 or 3 years, and then with the nation supporting them behind, they're just going to be, they're going to be rearing to go.
Jamie Borthwick, STV News.
Tennis news, and Andy Murray has been drawn against James Duckworth in the first round at Wimbledon. The former world number 1, who was unseeded at the draw, avoided being paired with Rafael Nadal or Novak Djokovic early in the tournament. Murray hopes to overcome an abdominal injury to be able to play. And that, folks, is all your sport tonight. See you again next week.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Sean has the weekend weather forecast.
The outlook for the day is calm and settled. TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
Well, we started today with plenty of warm, sunny spells. Seen a few showers developing through this afternoon, 1 or 2 heavy ones around during this evening, and then we'll see that more prolonged spell of rain coming in from the west. So many of us having a spell of wet weather through this evening and tonight. And again, temperatures, you might find them a wee bit uncomfortable again, like last night. Some spots probably staying about 15 or 16 degrees over inland areas. Now, tomorrow morning, once again, we start off with a lot of dry weather with sunshine, and then we'll start to see those showers developing, mainly across Dumfries and Galloway, Ayrshire, Lanarkshire. probably late morning, early afternoon, and then spreading elsewhere further north. I think probably the best of the weather tomorrow. Yes, it will be windy, but across the Hebrides here we'll hang on to lovely sunshine. So let's have a look at what's in store. So lots of little wind arrows whizzing up across Colin, Tiree, Mull, the Morar area, Jura, Isla, Colonsay and Kintyre. So it will be increasingly windy, but look at the lovely sunshine we've got. OK, temperatures only 14 or 15, but of course the UV levels, remember, are very, very high. Now further inland, yes, I've popped some showers on there, but don't worry too much about them because there's still going to be a lot of dry weather with sunshine tomorrow. Not quite as warm as the last couple of days, but still feeling very pleasant. And as I said, yes, watch out for those UV levels because the sunburn risk is high. We'll see more showers developing as we go through the day. A lot more showers around on Sunday, some of those heavy and even windier along the coasts as well. Bye-bye.
TUI Blue Hotels, sponsor STV Weather.
And finally, 70 years on from the football stands at Cathkin Park falling silent, archaeologists have rediscovered the historic changing rooms at the site, complete with the baths, flooring, tiles and even cups and saucers.
Yes, Third Lanark played there for more than 60 years and fans of the club hope that the latest discovery could be the catalyst to their return. Ollie Dickinson has more.
Brick by brick, these archaeologists are uncovering a lost part of Scotland's footballing history. Cathkin Park, once home to not only Third Lanark, but to Scottish football full stop, has lay dormant for nearly 70 years. But now, with every scrape of earth and brush of dust, it's a story that's being retold.
I've got pictures of these sites, we've got plans of these sites, but the archaeology allows us to really get in touch with the people and the players that played here, that watched the football here. And we've got the floor, the original floor surface of the pavilion, the bath as well. You can imagine all the players in that bath. Some guys having an early bath as well at half time, maybe if they get sent off. So it's a real, we're actually touching it and seeing it.
Well, it's a real wintry day here at Cathkin with the Lanark kicking off in the white strip.
At one time, more than 50,000 fans would have travelled here to watch their team play. Where once stood a pavilion and grandstand, now nothing remains. There is some amateur football still played here, but it's fans of Third Lanark who truly dream of one day returning to the stands.
It'd be great to have as a museum for people to come, for people to look. We've had many people through the week that we've been here. If it was a work museum, that would be a dream come true. And obviously for Third Lanark to come home, as I would call it, I would be happy. I couldn't explain it in words what it would mean if the Third Lanark could come back here and play in their spiritual home.
It's not just about one club though. The national game's history passes right through Cathkin.
Third Lanark is where it's mostly known and renowned for from 1904 to 1967 till their demise. However, before that, this was the site of the second Hampden Park, and this is one of the world's most important football grounds. This is the site of Scottish Cup finals. It's the site of international matches from 1884 to 1903. This was also one of the sites for what was called the Championship of the World, where Renton beat West Bromwich Albion 4-1.
People are being invited to come down to the dig over the weekend so they can see this slice of the beautiful game being rediscovered. Ollie Dickinson, STV News.
OK, I know 1967 wasn't 70 years ago, so apologies for that. Now, if you're out and about this weekend, be glad you don't come across this.
Yes, our tornado of midges has been spotted at Loch Leven near Kinross. The video captures what's known as a midgie mating dance, where males of the species form a tube-like formation in order to attract a mate. The current warm weather seems like it's the perfect condition for it.
Isn't that your nightmare, a tornado of midges? That's the worst.
Making me itchy.
Well, you're going to get changed to get your glad rags on. You're What's on Scotland at 7.
I certainly am. We're back at 7. Hope you can join us then. But from all of us here, enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye.
Good night.